It's a very important story about what Turkey did for Korea. Tens of thousands of troops. They were one of the largest contingents there.
I think the Turkish armed forces acquitted themselves so very well. They were known for their fighting ability, their stubborn defense, their commitment, their discipline, and their bravery.
Well, the Korean War was very important because in many ways it was the first place that the emergent Cold War turned hot, in the sense that after the end of World War II, it was pretty clear that the United States and Soviet Union emerged as the two major power blocs.
Soviet obstruction had resulted in the permanent and tragic division of the Korean people at the 38th parallel, which had been originally established only as a temporary boundary for administrative purposes.
The Soviets were moving very quickly to occupy the northern part of the peninsula, and the U.S. and the UN occupied the southern part.
Will there be peace or war?
Under that occupation, there arose leaders in North and South Korea, supported by their respected patrons, who had a vision for unification of the Korean Peninsula completely, but under their respective leaderships.
I think a lot of that division is, is arbitrary. Very often it's momentary. It's temporary. It's not a natural thing at all.
But there was worse to come. A highly trained and well-equipped North Korean army swarmed across the 38th parallel to attack unprepared South Korean defenders. Caught off guard, they were all but overwhelmed until the United Nations took its historic vote to intervene.
And I think that in that case, it was really about member states of this relatively new organization, the United Nations, wanting to do their part to restore stability. And as part of trying to restore stability at that time, it was deemed that it was necessary also to repel aggression.
The peaceful citizens of the Republic of Korea, torn from their homes, separated from their families, formed the long and miserable lines of refugees, which are always the first fruit of ruthless conquest.
Every nation has to measure very carefully before they invest, and it is an investment of their most precious resource, the sons and daughters of, in our case, the sons and daughters of America.
Turkey was one of the first members of the United Nations to send her troops to Korea.
The Turkish Brigade was one of the first to respond and came at a pivotal time as China entered the war.
Here they won a splendid combat reputation and also learned much of modern warfare.
We are the fourth country among the 21 UN states in terms of troop numbers, and the third country for the number of fallen soldiers.
We had a Turkish brigade with us, and they were extremely capable combat soldiers. They relished combat. It was in them. They were trained for it.
They had a reputation for being tough fighters. They had a skill at close quarters combat, hand-to-hand combat, especially with their short swords or long knives, however you wish to look at it. They were tough.
Oh, I remember one time in January, I think it was in 1951, the Turks, I think they were attached to the 25th Division, and they were attacking up this hill with fixed bayonets, and the Chinese just took off and ran.
When you think about Turkey alone, they lost 721 killed in action, 2,111 wounded. America lost 36,574. This was in a 3-year period. So the conflict was intense. The terrain is intense. The enemy was intense. Not only North Korea, but the Chinese attacks.
The death of the chief of staff of the Turkish Brigade. I was on the front line A mortar came in, it hit the tank, exploded, everybody face down, hit the dirt. One grenade, only one. Premier, Chief of Staff of the Brigade, he didn't get up. A fragment from the grenade, it struck, went through this side of his helmet, out the other. He was dead. He would come and visit me in the reserve area. He was like a father to me. I cried. That was awful. It was awful.
Then South Korea and Turkey have since had very good relations.
I think that it's unique as a grouping that is not defined by region. And so it's very interesting to see these emerging, but really in the middle power level, trying to find ways to band together and assert a commonality of interest.
These alliances all exist today, right? And they're thriving today. And I think that speaks to how much all the parties to the alliance see these as more than military alliances, but see these as very important partnerships.
At this 70th anniversary commemoration, 70 years since the start of the war, and those 3 tough years of war that the Turkish Brigade participated in so gallantly, we should remember their sacrifice and remember that Turkey is not forgotten. Indeed, in many ways, the commitment to United Nations Command in that war set the conditions for relationships that exist to this day, and even the entry of Turkey into NATO.
The impact of the Korean War was a free Republic of Korea. Global positive effect. An economy that's 11th or 12th in the world. Technologically superior to many other economies.
This is what success looks like, right? This is why the war was fought, to see sort of a country like South Korea emerge out of the ashes of war and become such a successful country.
See, if we view this objectively, the war started at 38 parallel and ended there. So what's the point? Only 2 million lives lost. It was a huge tragedy.
Korea still remembers the Turkish warriors of the Turkish Brigade, and United Nations Command remembers the contributions made by those same gallant Turkish warriors. So my salute to the veterans and my thanks to Turkey.